many of you have heard your parents or someone in your family talk about some kind of health goal that they want to attain? Whether it's running faster, losing weight, gaining muscle, whatever it may be, maybe living a longer life. I'm sure that all of you have, unless your family has some kind of freak genetics. It's something that seemingly every adult pursues in this health paradox that has no ultimate solution, and there's good reason as to why. Health is extremely important. It should be a main focus for everybody, especially as you grow older and more adverse health effects become more likely. Ideally, we should prevent them at a younger age by controlling what we put into our body. So, if you have goals of one day running an Ironman or a marathon, becoming a bodybuilder or some other incredible feat of strength or endurance, then your health is not to be overlooked. So today I want to help you understand more about your own body, what you put into it, and how you can make it better. And so hopefully we become healthier individuals and you start seeing the fruits of your labor, pun intended. So I know what you're thinking, why would I listen to this scrawny 17-year-old boy in my college speech class on health? And I know it doesn't look like it, but I actually know a lot about health. I've invested a lot of my time into it. I've been working at the local health and wellness bar for 2 years, where I make smoothies for our customers, where we value their health, their individual health. Additionally, I've also been an avid gym goer for 2 years, or I've invested in myself, my own personal self, what I put into my body, and I've learned more about my own body and how I can create ideal results. Additionally, my dad, 3 uncles, and my grandpa are doctors, so I understand a little bit about health and a little bit about the body. Hopefully, I can help you to understand that as well. So in this speech, I want to help you gain a better understanding of your own body. So this includes different types of fat, because yes, some fat is good for you, the bad nutrients that we should keep in moderation, and how we can incorporate this information into our own lives, our own kitchen, our own cooking. And with that, let's get into it. Fat. So I know what you're thinking, fat, it's this horrible thing that I don't want any of in my body. As little as possible is ideal. And I can't tell you that can't be farther from the truth. Guys, fat is an essential macronutrient, macronutrients being protein, carbs, and fat. Fat has the highest caloric content gram per gram at 9, where protein and carbs are 4. And so it's understandable why people want to avoid fat. It's high in calories, but it's still an essential macronutrient that you need and has its own function in your body. What's important to note is that there are good fats and bad fats. Good fats being polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fat. According to the American Health Association, studies say that 8 to 10% of your caloric content daily should come from polyunsaturated fat. So this is good fat, and that's actually 200 calories if you're going off the 2,000 calorie based diet, which may sound like a lot of calories of fat, but it's actually not. You really need it. And I'll explain how you can get that later in the speech. So additionally, there are bad fat, and this is really important to note. This is what you want to be avoiding. So if you want to think of it like this, like a spectrum, good, bad. Saturated fat, it's leaning more towards bad. It's not the worst thing for you, but trans fat is the worst thing for you. You do not want trans fat. Trans fat is literally what they use to fry things like French fries, burgers, and stuff. Any fried food, because the trans fat molecule doesn't break down in extreme heat, which is why it's so useful for that. So if you're putting that into your body, your stomach acid's not going to do anything against that. Your trans fat is sticking with you forever. Once you eat it, it's in your body. It's going to clog up your arteries. It's going to raise your LDL cholesterol. Saturated fat does this as well in excess, but you can moderate this through other activities. But you want to keep these things, trans fat and saturated fat, in moderation to avoid high LDL cholesterol and clogged blood arteries, which is an important part of your body, so you want to keep those in pretty good shape. So now that we have bad fat out of the way, I'd like to get into bad nutrition, specifically added sugars and sodium. These are both things are necessary for your body to function, but most Americans consume them in excess to the point where it's actually unhealthy. I'm sure that some of you, and specifically I know I struggle with eating a lot of added sugar. It's good, obviously. So actually, according to Harvard Health, adult men take in an average of 24 teaspoons of sugar, added sugar, daily. That's equivalent to 384 calories, guys. That's a ton of calories of just straight added sugar. You want to avoid this. You want to keep it in moderation. Moderation is key here to avoid adverse health effects like diabetes. So then there's sodium. Sodium is, again, it's a necessary nutrient. I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat it. Keep it out of moderation. Sodium, it's actually an electrolyte, but people tend to eat it a lot. It's found a lot in salty foods. So this is kind of like the sweet and salty thing. It's really good for us. We like it. Sweet and salty tastes good, but we need to be able to control it. Otherwise, some bad stuff can happen. Sodium specifically will increase your blood pressure, so you want to avoid that. Now that we got the bad stuff of health out of the way, I'd like to get how we can incorporate this information into our own eating, our own kitchen, and become the most ideal possible form of ourselves, of our bodies. So, I'm going to shock you. Eating at home is better than eating out. Crazy, right? According to Dr. Potak, director of the Culinary Health Education Fundamentals Coaching Program, he states, studies show that more meals people prepare at home, the more fruits and veggies that they will eat. Since the 60s, people have been eating out more and at home less, which you can probably see how that's going to create some issues in people's health. People are going to be eating more trans fat and saturated fat, more added sugars and sodium, the 4 things I stated that you want to keep in moderation, which can create some really bad health effects. So you want to be able to control that, guys. Eat at home. I'd also like to get into the good and bad fat content foods, which you want to incorporate into your lives. Good fat being tree nuts, seeds, vegetable oils, fish, avocado. That's a lot of good fat content foods. So make sure you're eating that. Bad content foods being something like cheese, meats, or fried foods. You want to keep that in moderation or as low as possible. So the last point I'd like to make is weight gain. Weight gain, if you eat more, you're going to gain more weight. If you eat less, you'll lose weight. So this is just caloric surplus or caloric deficit. Slight, you want to maintain a caloric deficit above or below maintenance, depending on what your health goals are. And so with this today, I hope that this is going to help prolong our lives. In lieu, my speech must come to an end. I hope that we all better understand the different types of fat, bad nutrients for you that you should keep in moderation, and how we can incorporate this information into our very own lives. And so with that, go eat your fat.